morning. Good morning. I'm Aaron Brinker.
I'm Tobin Brinker.
And I'm Todd Brinker.
And we are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. It's one of my favorite songs.
We're definitely triple threat radio today, aren't we?
We really are. You got three Brinkers today.
On accident.
So we pull into the parking lot here in front of the radio station, and my husband is in the parking lot, and typically he's not here on Thursdays. I'm like, oh, this is great. What are you doing here?
And I look at her kind of dumbfounded. Yeah, what am I doing here? I was on autopilot. I just showed
up.
up.
I go.
I'm like, okay, maybe I should wake up a little bit before I.
No, I think this is great. I think it's awesome.
I do too. I'm teasing you a little bit, but
it's a heck of a lot better than the other way around, where like I pull in and you're supposed to be here and you're not.
Right.
And it's like, where'd you go? So it is a beautiful, chilly, crisp Thursday morning. And last night, Tobin and I went to the San Bernardino Crossroads Rotary. We are in the Sunset Rotary Club, the Crossroads Rotary Club. And it's Crossroads because it's Loma Linda and San Bernardino. And they had their annual Holiday Hope auction. And they benefited three nonprofits. And, they didn't really announce who they were benefiting.
Yeah.
We know that they're benefiting the Inland Empire Children's Book Project because we are on that board. And,
I think the other one was a women's shelter. And I'm trying to remember what the other one was.
Like Option House Women's Shelter?
Yeah, something like that.
So at any rate, we went and Tobin put together this Christmas surprise bag. So everything there were lots and lots of auction items. Some of them were super cool. Some of them were kind of silly. And Tobin put together a Christmas surprise, and it was a couple pairs of Christmas socks, these indoor snowballs.
Yes.
And a big tin of popcorn. And
what's an indoor snowball?
If you can imagine, like if you had a bunch of white socks rolled up into balls, that's kind of what they felt like. But they're sewn together to look like snowballs. They're a little bit more fluffy than socks.
I actually think it's fun. And Tobin was like, well, I'd like to throw them at the kids.
Take them to my classroom. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, probably frowned upon.
Probably not a good idea.
Given some of the things we read in the news these days with some teachers, it's like, that's probably pretty mild.
Yeah, go ahead and throw it at them, but you got to sing the national anthem when you do it.
Gotta let them throw it back.
Yeah, exactly. So, the bid for that went up to like $60. And afterwards, because it was all wrapped, and so they're unwrapping it, and they're like, oh. Popcorn, this is great. So it was funny, and it's all for charity, right? It's all in good fun. So anyway, it was a good time. I hope they raised lots of money.
And the Brinker family swept the ugly sweater contest because we do ugly better than just about anybody I know.
So Tobin went to Walmart yesterday and picked the most hideous sweaters you could possibly imagine. So one of them that he picked for me, even though he bought because I always like big sweaters. I want everything to be oversized. And so bought a really, really big one. And I put it on, and it's not big. I mean, obviously, it's it
was made in China, so it was China big.
It was China big. It wasn't U.S. big. And so I gave it to one of our exchange students who is a super fit, she's an athlete. And it fit her like it should have fit me.
Yeah.
So
nice fit.
It was a nice fit for her, and it was hideous. It had like these angry-looking psycho cats on it with little Santa hats, and then Tobin wore this hat with like this demented-looking cow on it. Had a cowbell. And
the sweater actually had a cowbell sewn into it, and so every time I took a step, the cowbell would jingle and ring. That was funny.
Perfect.
Yeah,
perfect. Jingle bells.
Exactly. You're having dreams of Christopher Walken asking for more cowbell. So anyway, they both won the ugly sweater contest, and you didn't get anything, did you?
Yeah, I got a gift card.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, that's right. A Starbucks gift card and a Trader Joe's gift card.
Yeah.
So, that was cool. Anyway, it was a fun night. I hope they raised lots of money.
Yeah, I do too. I think they did. I mean, some of those auction items went for a little pricier than I thought they would.
So I actually bid on and won this really cool handmade purse from Zambia. And some of the decorations are girls from Mali were looking at them, and they're like, oh, we have those in Mali too. And it's this earthy olive green, which I really like, and black, and then it's got this pretty decoration on the front. So
one of the really cool things about Rotary is it's an international organization, and a lot of our Rotarians they travel, right? They go to these various Rotary events around the globe, and then they bring stuff back. And so that's a lot of, there was a variety of things that were like that different Rotarians had donated that they had picked up when they had traveled.
So this one was actually from Zambia. One of our club's members had done a service project in Zambia, which of course is in Africa. And and so he brought back this purse, and I thought, oh, this is great. So they donated it. And then one of our book project board members donated this beautiful mohair Irish blanket, and I wanted to bid on it, but the bid got too high. So
that one went up quick.
It went up quick. It was really pretty. So it was nice. It was very nice.
Sounds like a fun night.
It was a fun night. Although
I was on a pool deck coaching and freezing with ice cubes for hands.
Oh my gosh! I bet the kids were warmer than you were.
Oh, they're always warmer than I am. The pool's 80 degrees. They're great. You know, they feel cold when their arm sticks out of the water, but you know.
So that's not supposed to be out very long. So yeah, put it back in.
Yeah, exactly. Take another stroke.
So what is for these people who have kids who are in sports, are you going to have practices throughout the Christmas break?
Well, we are not going to have practices throughout the Christmas break because we swim at Villa Park High School, which is part of the Orange County Unified School District. And during the off times, when the campus is closed during break, I have to pay for janitorial services, and the way they negotiated their contract with the janitors is I have to pay for 3 hours of janitorial services, which costs me $100 additional a night.
3 hours.
Yeah, and even though the practice is only 90 minutes long, I still have to pay for 3 hours of janitorial services, and I can't. Our team, we keep our rates very, very affordable, and we just can't afford to cover that costs for 3 weeks, the additional $100 a night for 3 weeks, and so we will do practices up till I think the 20th.
Wow. Well, and I know that. So let me collect my thoughts. The Infant Toddler Success Program is part of the Making Hope Happen Foundation, and our office is located on an elementary school campus. So we're going to be able to get on campus next week, but after that, we're going to be locked up tight until the 2nd of January. Mm-hmm. So we're going to have that time off. Now, of course, we'll still be on the air. Tobin and I will still be on the air, and you'll still be on the air. But, I'm looking forward to having that just kind of unplugged time, Mm-hmm. I've got a ton of books that I want to read, and I want to veg, and I want to see places. So super excited we're going to take our girls to, and I think you're going too, maybe, or Elaine's going, to the Living Desert. They have these Christmas lights. It's and the Living Desert, of course, is out in Palm Desert, and it's a zoo, and it's really cool, and I'm looking forward to going out there on the 23rd. Yeah, it's going to be really pretty.
Picture taking time.
Exactly. So really quick before our first break, I wanted to bring up, so yesterday the news broke that the California Public Utilities Commission was considering putting a tax on all text messages and making that tax retroactive back 5 years. Now, I was having a heart attack because we have kids who are in their early 20s. And what does that mean? Over the last 5 years, they would have sent thousands, probably tens of thousands of texts. And
I think that the Public Utilities Commission would be, tarred and feathered by the state of California if they tried to do that.
Yeah, I think you're right, because it really hit a nerve with people, especially parents of teenagers, because it's like, oh my God, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah, retroactively?
How is that possible? And
how do you think we would have handled this if we'd have known this was coming?
Right, exactly. I mean, you can't do that. And I say this because people make financial decisions based on a set of circumstances that exists at the time. Going back 5 years and tacking on an additional cost, people are like, there'd be no way. How in the heck can I afford that?
Remember back when you paid for X amount of texts in your plan, and it was like 15 cents a text after that, and people didn't text very much back then. When they went to unlimited text plans, then people texted like crazy, especially high school kids. I mean, I coach high school kids, and that's the way you communicate.
Yeah, and
you don't send them emails. You don't talk to them because heaven forbid they actually listen to you. You text them.
Well, and the texts are like, "How you doing? Sup?
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
You? I mean, it's like, it's inane stuff, and it's like a lot of the texts are one or two words, and complete sentences, no, and that's okay. But when if you're texting them on a per text basis, when people aren't used to economizing, oh my God. Well, the federal, the FCC has come back and said, nope, you can't do that. There was a regulatory ruling yesterday aimed at protecting consumers from text messaging spam, and it may also help mobile phone users avoid a proposed state texting tax. The CPUC has proposed a surcharge on text messages to help its growing budget for programs to help make phone service accessible to the poor. The wireless industry, business groups, and other critics argued California can't text messages unless federal regulators allow state regulators to treat text messaging as telecommunications. On Wednesday, the Federal Communications Commission, in a 3-1 decision, declared wireless short message service, which is SMS, that's texting, and multimedia message service, which is MMS, which would be like your iPhone Messenger, are information services similar to email under the Communications Act, and not a telecommunications service. Yes, the FCC's decision also denied requests from mass texting companies that have complained wireless providers are thwarting their ability to reach consumers via text. Chairman Ajit Pai, Ajit?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Commissioners Michael O'Reilly and Brendan Carr were in favor, with Commissioner Jessica Rosenworcel opposed. We commend Chairman Pai and the FCC for protecting consumers from an avalanche of messaging spam and allowing them to continue to benefit from a flourishing and competitive messaging ecosystem. That's according to Scott Bergman, CTIA Senior VP
I'm glad to see that.
for Regulatory Affairs. I'm agree.
Not really big fan of a lot that Ajit Pai has done. But I think this was the right call. Although, quite frankly, they're in the process of creating a new standard that is neither SMS nor MMS in order to do things like Messenger does, like messages on the iPhone don't use the SMS or the MMS systems. They use an independent system that goes directly through Apple, and they only attach to SMS or MMS through your provider if you're going from an iPhone, from an Apple product to a non-Apple product. So Apple to Apple, they don't use this at all, and they have much better control over your messaging and the ability to attach video and photos to it. And so this doesn't really address that aspect of things.
Well, one of the arguments in favor of what the FCC did was that if they had done what California wanted, so California could put the taxes on the text messages, that would have greatly disadvantaged that technology versus things like WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger, which would not have been taxed.
And WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger work very similarly to the iMessages on iPhones, in that they're an independent messaging system that don't use the SMS or MMS backend. That's why they're creating a standard that Google's been behind that will replace both SMS and MMS to provide better integration. But a lot of places around the world, WhatsApp, which is a Facebook product, so I won't use it, and like WeChat, which is the #1 chat service in China, they use that almost exclusively. They don't use the MMS or SMS systems from the service providers. And in America, you by default, if you happen to have an iPhone, well, anywhere, if you happen to have an iPhone, you don't use those systems either, unless you go to you're texting to and from somebody who does not have an iPhone.
So there are people who are supporters of the surcharge, and as you might imagine, they're pretty leftist, Marxist organizations. Supporters of the surcharge, including the Oakland-based Greenlining Institute, a think tank, I wouldn't call it a think tank, that promotes social equity for communities of color, agreed the FCC ruling is a setback, but not necessarily fatal. And this is the quote: "I agree the FCC decision complicates things," said Paul Goodman, the Institute's Director of Telecommunications and Technology Policy, "but I don't think it eliminates the PUC's ability to impose that." Critics, including business groups like the Bay Area Council and Silicon Valley Leadership Group, that they they said in a letter, a December 5th letter, that it could not impose a text tax without an explicit federal classification of text messaging as a telecommunications service. So those are the two different sides bumping heads. The thing about it that's frustrating to me is that we already have programs for low-income people to have phones, right? And in most services, texting is free or it's unlimited, right? You can send thousands of texts, and people do. And so why in the world do they need to take more money to from consumers? I mean, there's now talk of a federal, as a different tax, a federal per mile driving, a tax on vehicles, right? So every mile that you drive, and if that passes on the federal level, they're going to do it on state level. And in this state, they're not going to roll back existing taxes. At some point, people are going to be like, okay, look, I'm tired of the government looking at each tax as a discrete tax, right? Because it's the taxpayer has to pay all of them. And so at some point, we're just going to say, look, why in the world am I working? I'm just going to sit on my tuchus all day and be on the dole because it doesn't make any sense for me to work.
But that's exactly the goal of that provides equality, because then you all have government income. You're all on the government payroll, essentially. So that's the goal of some people who feel that that's the ideal situation.
Oh my gosh, it's not.
Some of these think tanks, I think we should be tanking our.
I agree. I absolutely agree, 100%. So with that, let's take a break. I'm Erin Brinker.
I'm Tobin Brinker.
I'm Todd Brinker.
And we are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA. We'll be right back.
This is Dick from Carpet Masters. Carpet Masters has been serving the Inland Empire for over 55 years. Carpet Masters uses extraction cleaning for your carpet because there's no better cleaning to remove the soil from your carpet. All of our furniture cleaning is done by hand in your home or in our plant. Carpet Masters also offers dry cleaning for fine furniture. Call Carpet Masters at 793-7215. That's 793-7215 for Carpet Masters.
Do you need a car? Been shopping only to be turned down because of bad credit, low credit, no credit, bankruptcy, or divorce? Guess what? Today's your lucky day, because now you can buy a car, truck, or SUV, just about any vehicle. It's true. Bad credit doesn't matter. No credit doesn't matter. Bankruptcy or divorce, it just doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, your job is your ticket to your new vehicle. We're Auto Credit Express, and we've helped thousands of people just like you. Antonio H. told us, great company, got me connected, and the day I went in, I drove off in the car I wanted. 100% worth your time. Need a car? Get started now and drive off as early as today. Just go to 4ignoremyscore.com right now. That's www.4ignoremyscore.com. Auto financing the easy way. 4ignoremyscore.com. Get started today. Auto financing the easy way.
If you're looking for a full or part-time sales position and you have radio, TV, or print media experience, KCAA has a great opportunity waiting for you that pays the highest commissions in the market. KCAA is the only station in the IE that broadcasts on 3 frequencies, so advertisers receive 3 ads for 1 low rate. This makes KCAA a must-buy for every local business. If you're interested in a sales position with us, email CEO@kcaaradio.com.
Hey Ryan, do we have any beer in the fridge?
Nah, I thought you got some.
The game starts in 5 minutes.
And you drank the last beer at midnight on Friday.
I wish there was a place that delivered beer.
Yes, I'm Captain Crafted. I'm here to bring you beer. That's Captain, C-R-A-F-T''D. Why? Because there's no E, just a D, as in deliver, because Captain Crafted delivers.
That's right, the Crafted Beer Store in Redlands is now open for business with great prices and deliveries of your favorite beer, wine, spirits, water, ice, and mixers. Did I mention their great prices? That's CRAFTDBEER store.com or Fred Crafted Beer Store on Facebook.com. Make it easy. Google Redlands Beer Delivery. Look for Crafted Beer.
Crafted Beer Store in Redlands is now open for business, and I'm here to deliver.
We can't be everything to everyone, or can we? The station that leaves no listener behind, KCAA.
Billy man, come on. 6 o'clock news says somebody been shot. Somebody's been abused. Somebody blew up a building. Somebody stole a car. Somebody got away. Somebody didn't get too far. Yeah, they didn't get too far.
Grandpappy told my pappy back in my day, son, a man had to answer for the wicked that he done. Take all the rope in Texas, find a tall oak tree, round up all of them bad boys, hang them high in the street, for all the people to see.
That justice is the one thing you should always find. You gotta saddle up your boys.
Welcome back. I'm Aaron Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are go ahead, Todd. Sorry.
I don't get to say who I am.
And you are Todd Brinker. And we are on the break, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. So I love that song, too. You know, it's fun being able to control the music that we play on the show. I'm just saying.
She controls the music in the car, too.
I do not. Well, okay, yeah, I kind of do. I kind of do. So, Todd, I should have played Christmas music because you have ideas for Christmas shopping.
I do. Of course, I wasn't ready for that one, but okay.
Yeah,
I've got some gift ideas. I've been doing this for the last week or so, and so just some suggestions of kind of cool and interesting things. I'm trying to keep them all $25, $30 in that range, somewhere in there, so they're not terribly expensive, but just interesting things. Today, I kind of went with some tech stuff. So for those of us who still use desktop computers and mice, sometimes when you have to turn your palm face down to use your mouse, that causes that twist in your wrist that causes a little bit of strain. There's such thing as a vertical mouse where you basically keep your pinky down and your thumb up so your hand doesn't have to turn sideways. Only $15 from the fine company called Anchor at Amazon.com. It's Anchor Vertical Mouse, $15. That's the wired version. $25 if you want the wireless version. And the wireless version is interesting because it's not Bluetooth. So if you want to use it, you plug in a little dongle into your USB port, and it has further range as a result than Bluetooth. And if you're running multiple Bluetooth things, sometimes there's some weird connectivity things with Bluetooth. So, but it works pretty solid either way. But the vertical mouse is just a good idea, especially if you're having any kind of wrist pain and you work at a computer a lot. It's something you might want to try, and it's cheap.
Have you used one?
I have a long time ago. I used one when they first came out. I tried one, and I don't tend to have that problem in terms of RSI, repetitive stress injury in my wrists and forearms, and so it wasn't something that I found that I liked long term. But it works fine, works well, and for those who like it and want it, it's an option.
There you go.
So another product from the fine company Anchor, and I say fine company, they do a lot of like electronic accessory type of things, and one of them that they do, and these I do have several of them, is the Anchor 60-watt 6-port USB wall charger. Basically what it is the block. It almost looks like a battery block that you carry around people to like for extra charging in for your phone or something, but you plug it into the wall, and on one end of it, it has 6 USB ports. Now the nice thing about these 6 USB ports in the PowerPort 6 is that it has 60 watts of power total. It can put up to, but it flexes the amount of power going to each port based on what's plugged into it. So it'll feed the limit of what your device requests. So some phones use 1.5 amps of power. Others use 10 or 12 or 18, and this flexes around, and so regardless of what you plug into it, you can plug in your phone, your tablet, and it charges it all well for you, and you can carry multiple of these. I actually keep one of these in my suitcase, so when I travel, it's there, and I don't show up and go, oh my gosh, how do I plug in my stuff? And so it's $25 also at Amazon. Now, you guys have an Echo, correct? I think
we do. You gave it to us.
I was going to say, I think I know who gave you that. Echo Dots are available right now. The version 2 Dot, which is a perfectly good device, is only $20. The version 3, which is essentially the same device, they do exactly the same thing. It's just slightly larger and has a little bit bigger speaker in it. Has a little bit nicer, softer cover on the outside instead of being all plastic. Is $30. And if you haven't got an Echo in your home, it's an interesting thing to have. There for the paranoid, you may not want a listening speaker in your house. But it has some nice, useful things. If you set it somewhere near your kitchen, it's a great way to set a timer while you're cooking. It can give you the daily weather before you leave for work. You can ask for weather. You can also set it up to do some cool things around the house. One of the ways to do that is with a smart plug. You plug the smart plug into the wall and then plug your device or your light or whatever into the smart plug, and then you can have it play. One of the things that I like it doing is to have it to play Christmas music this time of year.
Nice.
And if you've got more than one of them, you can spread them around the house and say play Christmas music everywhere, and it'll start doing that, and it's synced up with all of them around the house, so you can just have that kind of playing in the background while you're doing whatever you're doing around the house. And,
well, thank you, Todd Wertz. Actually, this was a short segment.
Yep.
We're a little bit over. I'm Erin Brinker.
I'm Tobin Brinker.
I'm Todd Brinker.
And we are On the Brink, the morning show on KCAA. We will be right back.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, K292 FQ Riverside, and K293 CF Moreno Valley.
It's time to take a look at our roadways. I'm Erin Brinker. In Ontario, on the 60 westbound at Milliken Avenue, a big rig is partially blocking the off-ramp. In Corona, on the 91 eastbound at the 71, a two-vehicle crash is along the right shoulder. The 91 west is heavy from McKinley Street. The 71 south is jammed from Euclid down to the 91. In the Cajon Pass on the 15 northbound at Oak Hill Road, a conked-out car is in the right lane. And in Riverside on the 215 southbound at Box Springs Road / Fair Isle Drive, a wreck involving two vehicles is now along the right shoulder. This has been your traffic report. I'm Erin Brinker. Drive carefully, everyone. And you're listening to KCAA.
NBC News Radio, I'm Lisa Carter. There are reports President Trump is telling his inner circle he's getting more worried about the possibility he'll be impeached. NBC's Carol Lee reports a number of people say Trump's fears are rising as the consequences of federal investigations of his associates sink in, affecting his own party.
The vast majority of Republicans are sticking by the president. They're really worried that there'll be some softening there and that that's the most weak point within the Republican Party.
Yesterday, Trump's former attorney Michael Cohen was sentenced to 3 years in prison. Also, American media chief David Peckers admitted to making a $150,000 payment shortly before the 2016 election to silence a former Playboy playmate who says she had an affair with Trump. And the Senate is going after dark money. The Senate voting yesterday to approve a bill that would force politically active nonprofits to disclose their donors. The measure is not likely to pass in the Republican-led House. Lisa Carter, NBC News Radio.
From the KCAA Weather Center, I'm Alvin Washington. Sunny this morning, high 72. Clear this evening, low 48. Sunny on Friday, high 72. Friday night, partly cloudy, low 47. Sunshine Saturday, high 73. I'm Alvin Washington, broadcasting live from the Tri-City Center at the 10 and 210 freeways. We are the trifecta of talk in Southern California. KCAA, 102.3 FM, Riverside, 106.5 FM, Redlands, and the Legacy 1050 AM, Loma Linda, San Bernardino.
Drivers, when it's time to visit the DMV, avoid the long lines and save time by calling toll-free 833-DMV-LINE. That's 833-DMV-5463.
Broadcasting more local radio programs than any other station in California, we are KCAA.
Riding on the city of New Orleans, Illinois Central, Monday morning rail. 15 cars and 15 15 restless riders, 3 conductors and 25 sacks on mail. All along the southbound Odyssey, the train pulls out at Kankakee and rolls along past houses, farms, and fields. Passing trains that have no name.
Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And I'm Todd Brinker.
And we are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. You've been listening to this show for any length of time. You know that I absolutely love Willie Nelson.
He's a classic.
He really is. And his sons are like wicked talented, too. I think they wrote the music for A Star is Born, didn't
yes,
they, Tobin?
Did.
So without any further delay, I'm so excited to welcome back Dr. Huber. He is the chair of Mainstream Mental Health, and he joins us once a month to talk about, pop culture and the effect and the impact on mental health and some of the trends that are happening now. And today we're going to be talking about Twitter. First of all, welcome to the show, Dr. Huber.
Well, thank you for having me back on. I'm excited to be here every month.
So, and we are too. I absolutely love the segments that we have, that you do. Good grief, I need a coffee this morning. So, it seems to me if Twitter is kind of where all the big, outrage starts. That's where it's like this big gossip. The place where people get together and just gossip with one another, and then things blow up. And of course, the media. If you work for a major news agency, there are people who just live on Twitter, and they're pulling things off of Twitter, and that's where they get their stories. And I think that it's not really good for our public discourse. What do you think?
Well, I think you're right. It's not very good, and part of the reason why is they limit how much the length of each post can be. So for you to clearly explain yourself, it's virtually impossible. So you have to be able to get your message across in as few words as possible. And oftentimes that leads to this whole misperception of what you're actually trying to say or trying to do. That's the first thing off the bat with Twitter. The other thing is it is so easily accessible by so many people that you're literally putting your thoughts out there for the world. And it's real simple. You blot down 3 or 4 sentences, you send it, and it's out there for everybody instantly. And it's too easy just to, that ticks me off, and I'm going to, you write one sentence that's not very nice, and you just hit send, and it's out there. It's done.
And we've seen people, like there was a case, and I've forgotten what the young woman's name was, but she worked in media. She put a tweet out there that was, or tweeted something derogatory about Africa, and got in a plane and flew to Africa. And by the time she landed, it had blown up and she'd lost her job.
Exactly. It's that simple. And again, I feel for people like that. Part of the reason is we don't really know what they were trying to say because it is such an abbreviated way to communicate, but that also loads it full of emotion, because you're using one word to mean multiple different things, and it becomes problematic.
So let's also talk about, and one of the challenges, we just watched this with Kevin Hart. He made some tweets about 7 to 10 years ago, put some tweets out there that were not necessarily friendly to the LGBTQ community. And then he said when he was asked about it, when he was offered to be the host of the Oscars, he was asked about it, and he said, "Look, I said this a long time ago. I've already apologized, and apparently that wasn't good enough." And these comments that are made live in the internet in perpetuity. So if you're young, when you're young, you say stuff that you don't necessarily agree with when you're older. And we're holding people to things that just they don't even believe are true anymore. It seems absurd.
Well, we do that anyhow in society. I mean, we're going back and addressing politicians from 20 years ago, things they said back then that aren't true and weren't true then, but the belief set was different and the world is different, and we're still holding everybody accountable for it. So we have to be thoughtful of that. We have to realize that, you put this down in digital media, it doesn't go away. It's not like whispering it to your friend or being at a cocktail party and saying something that maybe shouldn't have been said, but you said it anyway after a few drinks, and, 20 years from now, nobody's going to remember it. Nobody will remember exactly what you said. But on Twitter, on any of that digital media, it's real easy to pull that stuff right back up and throw it in your face.
So what do we do? I mean, does the society as a whole need to say, look, we need to stop taking this stuff so seriously? I mean, you think about the president and what he tweets. And I get that he's the president, but if his tenure in the Oval Office has taught us anything, is that his tweets really don't matter. How he governs really often doesn't have anything to do with what he's tweeting. It's his what he's thinking, what is in his head at the moment he tweets, and that's it. Do we need to get perspective, or do we just all of us need to get off Twitter?
Well, as a society, we need to get perspective. We talk about the president, and I think he doesn't do anything without intent. He puts those out there because he draws attention to the media to that tweet, and then he can go and run the country, like you just said. It's important what he actually does, not necessarily what he posts and tells people about. He's been in the media since the early 70s, and he knows how to manipulate the media. He doesn't want them to see what he's doing on the right hand. He tweets on the left hand. And he's been, we can talk about a lot of things, but he's very crafty when it comes to that, regardless of whether you like him or not. You have to admit that. And we should maybe take some advice from him. If we're going to put something out there, do it with intent, think it through. Even if it sounds crazy, have the reaction you expect people to have because of the nature of that digital media.
That's okay. That's interesting. I one of the reasons why my husband and I did not support the president, we actually left the Republican Party over his nomination, and the reason why is because he would say these inflammatory, horrible things, and some people would say, well, he doesn't really mean them. Yeah, but he said them, and they're out there, and No,
you're right. You're right. But he also, he somehow has the heartbeat or pulse of the majority of the voters that in the states that count and all that kind of stuff. And he worked it. He worked the whole system. He spent about 1/10 of what his opponents spent, and he still won the nomination. It's pretty crazy.
It's true. Well, he did get an inordinate amount of free media. I don't remember ever as presidential candidate getting the amount of free media that he got. It was insane. And so, it's funny because the major media outlets who now rail against him, it's like, you put him there. You gave him, so much more attention than anybody else. They put him there.
And he knew how to work them. And so, they criticize him and call him, not very smart, and they want to say he has dementia or something like that. He worked them. If he has dementia, boy, that says a lot about that.
Indeed.
So yeah, Scott Adams, the guy who does Dilbert, actually started way early on when he first announced, said, watch out, this guy's got the media wrapped around his finger, and basically laid out how he was going to do it, and that's exactly what he did.
Exactly.
So how do we protect our children? I mean, more and more. There was a study that came out earlier this week, talking about the dangers of too much screen time for children in general. And, especially when you start looking at social media, should we just give our kids flip phones?
Yeah, well, you want to have a riot in your living room? That's a good way to do it. What I recommend is what I do with my kids. They have to pay for their screen time, and they do it by being involved in social activities. My son's a second-degree black belt. My daughter's almost a black belt. They both participate in choir and sports and basketball, and they earn time for their screens by doing those things. If they don't do those activities, they don't get the screen time. I mean, we started early. When our kids were, 5, 6 years old and they wanted on the computer, we started making passwords every night made up of 10 to 13-digit numbers, and they would have to do math problems and put those numbers end to end to get the password every day before they could get on the computer.
That's so awesome. That's awesome.
They thought it was awful because none of their friends had to do it, but they were by the time they were in third grade. All their friends were doing it too. Imagine that.
And then when they end up being mathematicians and physicists, they'll thank you.
Exactly. So there's a cost reward system here, and we all do it. We go to work, we get a job, we get a paycheck, and we live. Well, do the same thing, and we know that any more than 2 hours, actually at 2 hours, screen time for social media shows us that there is behavioral signs of depression at 2 hours. So try to keep it under 2 hours for these guys. And, there's data out there that shows almost 48% of our kids are spending up to 7 hours a day on their screen.
Wow.
What are we doing? We're creating a depressed nation. They talk about that book, Prozac Nation. Man, this is just a depressed nation at this point.
I'm just gobsmacked that it's that many hours. But you know what? I think about it. They may be in school during the day and have their phones, with them. But it's at night when they get home. And then I remember when our daughter was living with us before she got married and moved out. We'd walk in the middle of the night and she'd be sitting there with the glow on her face because she had her phone on.
That's right.
That's
right. And it's disturbing. And, they do it. So what you got to do is have a charging station in the living room, and everybody's phone goes there and charges overnight. So you've got it in case of an emergency the next day. Make up an excuse, whatever. But, we got to start taking control of that, especially when that door shuts and they go to bed at night. Because it's too
buy an
easy
alarm
to
clock.
jump on there.
Exactly.
A lot of people say, "Oh, but that's how they get up in the morning." Buy an alarm clock.
And I say BS. Yeah, exactly. Get an alarm clock.
Or get a cat. They work too. The cats will wake you up before any alarm clock. Get a cat.
Oh yeah, exactly. Well, except here, it got to 30 degrees last night, and our cat's still asleep.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're a little warmer than that here, although not a whole lot. I think it was 42 this morning. So.
Oh, well, that's still chilly.
So to let everybody know how they can find out more about mainstream mental health.
Well, you can listen to our podcast, our radio podcast at Mainstream Mental Health Radio, or you can follow us at our website. And there's two ways to get to there. One of them is mainstreammentalhealth.org, and the simple way is drpsycho.org, DRPSYCHO.
And I giggle every time you say that. So that's drpsycho.org. How can you forget that? That's awesome. Well, Dr. Huber, it is so, I just have so much fun every time you're on the show with us. Thank you so much for joining us today, and happy holidays.
Happy holidays, and y'all have a safe and pleasant time the rest of this holiday season.
You too. All right, with that, it's time for a break. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
I'm Todd Brinker.
You sure about that? And we are on the brink.
Well,
the morning.
I was waiting.
You were waiting, and we were on the brink. The morning show on KCAA. We will be right back.
Do you need a car? Been shopping only to be turned down because of bad credit, low credit, no credit, bankruptcy, or divorce? Guess what? Today's your lucky day, because now you can buy a car, truck, or SUV, just about any vehicle. It's true. Bad credit doesn't matter. No credit doesn't matter. Bankruptcy or divorce, it just doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, your job is your ticket to your new vehicle. We're Auto Credit Express, and we've helped thousands of people just like you. Antonio H. told us, great company, got me connected, and the day I went in, I drove off in the car I wanted. 100% worth your time. Need a car? Get started now and drive off as early as today. Just go to 4ignoremyscore.com right now. That's www.4ignoremyscore.com. Auto financing the easy way. 4ignoremyscore.com. Get started today. Auto financing the easy way.
For several years, KCAA has been marketing the Youngevity brand of nutritional and personal care products. Our experience with Youngevity has been 100% positive, so we are pleased to recommend them to you. Regarding nutritional supplements, we recommend Pollen Burst in the berry flavor and Tangy Tangerine 2.0 in the tablet form. For regularity issues, we recommend 3-Day Cleanse, and for personal care, we recommend Morning Hydration Cream. You can shop online for Youngevity at www.KCAATeam.com. Or you can order by phone by calling 800-982-3197 and tell customer support that you are part of the KCAA team. Youngevity is an American company based in San Diego. Call Youngevity at 800-982-3197 and ask about monthly auto ship that allows you to buy Youngevity products at wholesale prices. That number again, 800-982-3197.
Are you having trouble sleeping? Are you always tired and worn out? Is it affecting your work and personal life? Well, South Pacific Sleep Lab can help you out. South Pacific Sleep Lab provides a personal study of your sleep patterns. With their trained specialists, they will diagnose your sleep habits and will give you a prognosis for getting a great relaxing night of sleep. South Pacific Sleep Lab has locations throughout Southern California, including Fontana, and will provide transportation to any of their locations at no cost to you. To find out more, give them a call at 844-SAD-5050. That's 844-SAD-5050. South Pacific Sleep Lab. Start resting easy and sleeping sound today.
Do you need a car? Been shopping only to be turned down because of bad credit, low credit, no credit, bankruptcy, or divorce? Guess what? Today's your lucky day, because now you can buy a car, truck, or SUV, just about any vehicle. It's true. Bad credit doesn't matter. No credit doesn't matter. Bankruptcy or divorce, it just doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, your job is your ticket to your new vehicle. We're Auto Credit Express, and we've helped thousands of people just like you. Antonio H. told us, great company, got me connected, and the day I went in, I drove off in the car I wanted. 100% worth your time. Need a car? Get started now and drive off as early as today. Just go to 4ignoremyscore.com right now. That's www.4ignoremyscore.com. Auto financing the easy way. 4ignoremyscore.com. Get started today. Auto financing the easy way.
This is KCAA.
Let's do this right. Welcome back. I'm Marion Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
I'm Todd Brinker.
And we are on The Brink, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5 and 102.3. And the new nominees for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame have been announced. And Todd, do you want to say who those people are?
Sure. The Cure, Def Leppard, Janet Jackson, Stevie Nicks as an individual, as opposed to, she's already in the Hall of Fame as part of Fleetwood Mac, Radiohead, Roxy Music, and the Zombies.
Now, Roxy Music surprises me because they weren't as big as some of these others.
Well, you know, they I think were a heavy influencer of a lot of bands going into the 80s, I think, and that's probably where they picked up some of their votes. There's a lot of people who were surprised that the Cure got in as well.
I don't know.
I love the Cure.
I don't disagree. I like The Cure, but they were one of those bands that I think, for whatever reason, just wasn't quite getting a lot of bite with the group. You know, it's funny because the induction or the process, the voting process is kind of opaque. Yeah. They explain it as being over 1,000 previous winners, historians, and members of the music industry vote. They also take a fan vote, but what they do is they take all the fan votes together. They take the top 5, and each of the top 5 get one additional vote out of those 1,000+ votes to represent the fans' choices. So it's essentially no vote at all.
Yeah.
And then the list that's created by all those votes is then weighed by a committee, and it's not clear exactly who the committee is and what their criteria is and how they do it. It's just sort of done. And so there's been some criticism of the Hall of Fame in the past, but I tell you what, it makes for an interesting HBO special and fun jam session at the end of each show.
I just want to say that Janet Jackson is going to be entered into the Hall of Fame, but there's going to be a nipple ring shaped asterisk next to her name.
Oh God, Tobin.
I think that needs to be stated clearly up front.
You know, she started acting when she was a kid, and we all watched her grow up on television.
Fame.
Well, and she was in what was that? Good Times.
Yep.
Was that the show that she was in? So then she had this this musical career and dancing and all of those things, and she had hit after hit, and so I hate that wardrobe malfunction has defined her.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you're right.
I think for some people it has. I think it does jokingly. I think most people recognize that she has a fine body of work besides that body of work. But no, that she musically has done a lot of things. And as a individual, I think she stands apart from. Maybe some doors were opened because of her brother and her family. Certainly, that fame doesn't hurt when you go out there, but you have to be able to stand on her own. Her sister, LaToya, also put out several albums and didn't have nearly the impact or the, some would say talent, but I think there's a lot of people who are incredibly talented, singing in dive bars because they love to do it and they can make enough money to get by, that never become famous and are just incredibly talented people. So it's there's a lot of luck involved as well. But I think she deserves the recognition. I look at that list and I say that it's a very broad swath of styles of rock and roll music there. And I mean, you're never going to confuse The Cure for Def Leppard, and yet, they're going to be inducted at the same time. It was interesting if you look at it too. Some of these nominations was their very first ballot, their first time
in consideration. And for some of them, it was their second, third, or even fourth. And so it's interesting. Like Def Leppard, Roxy Music, and Stevie Nicks, this was their first nomination. The Cure and Radiohead, it was their second. It was Janet Jackson's third. And the Zombies fourth. So, that goes on. But then you look at some that have been on, sort of in consideration, but haven't made it in there yet.
Yeah.
Right now, Devo, John Prine, Kraftwerk, LL Cool J, MC5, Rage Against the Machine, Rufus and Chaka Khan, Todd Rundgren. I mean, these are some big names that have been eligible, and just they haven't quite convinced the committee to get them there.
So the thing I like when I watch this kind of induction things is when you see these guys fanboying about the other bands that they're there with them,
Yeah.
And that's always cool when you realize, hey, Def Leppard listens to Janet Jackson, or they listen to The Cure. It's like, really?
It's funny. Yeah, they're completely geeking out. Yeah, it's funny when you see some of those types of shows. Whether it be music or acting award shows and stuff, and you see them totally become a fan. And just have a meltdown in front of this person because it's like, I can't believe I get to meet.
So and so.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, there's going to be somebody who you just don't expect at all to just go gaga because Robert Smith is there from The Cure. And they're going to go like, I've never gotten a chance to actually meet him live. And it's it's so cool.
It's interesting because people who make music, who really love music and are true musicians, love music in many different genres.
Yep.
I mean, if you look at the Bohemian Rhapsody, most people have seen the movie. I haven't, but I do know that Freddie Mercury loved the classical music as well, and he actually did some partnering with, and I've forgotten the soprano's name, in opera and other areas, because he just really loved the music and the art, and you do see people geeking out when they meet other really incredible musicians.
Oh, absolutely. Billy Joel and Paul McCartney have both done classical compositions, and put those out, and they didn't make any money, but they loved it. They wanted to explore something totally different.
Yes. So with that, we're about at the end of our show for today. So we didn't get to tech, unfortunately, so we'll have to push that back to next week. I'm Aaron Brinker.
I'm Tobin Brinker.
And I'm Todd Brinker.
And we are On the Brink, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. Have a great day, everyone.
Loving you isn't the right